Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You can go ahead and introduce Justin.
So I have the privilege of introducing Miss Kamille Bostick. Kamille Bostick is a former museum educator, high school English teacher, and newspaper reporter who now serves as director of the Writing Center at Livingstone College in Salisbury, North Carolina. She was born in Lower South Carolina. Ms. Bostick graduated from the University of South Carolina in Columbia with a bachelor's in print journalism. She has since gone on to her master's in education from the University of Georgia in Athens and a teaching certificate from the University of North Carolina in Charlotte. An advocate for education, access, and equity, Ms. Bostick advises freshmen and sophomores while also designing modules for learning communities and the first year experience. I introduce to some and present to others, Ms. Kamille Bostick.
Thank you so much. I am thrilled, Justin, to see your face, and for everybody else whose face I can't quite see, but I know you're out there. I'm excited to kind of spend this 30 minutes. I know Charles has invited you all here so that you can learn a little bit, ask a little bit. I will honestly tell you, I am definitely here to mostly just give you a couple of good tips, and then of course answer any questions that you might have about whatever it is that you need to know about advising. So I want to, Charles, if that's okay, go ahead and share my screen. I just have a quick PowerPoint or two slide. Thank you, Charles. I see you doing double duty back there. So let's get this going. To Justin's point, I have had a variety of college experiences, and I'll tell you that the one thing that I did not know when I first started college that I probably should have paid more attention to was how helpful my advisor would actually be. I'm happy that y'all are actually having this night and this week full of the conference so that you can kind of start thinking about all the things that freshmen and kind of transfer students have at their fingertips. It's very valuable, and I again, if I had only known, I just kind of went to college like, oh, I'm in college, yay! And then life got real. So Charles has asked me to spend the next 30 minutes talking about how to build a relationship with your academic advisor, and I definitely want to do that. So I'm going to set the timer. I don't intend to talk too long. Feel free if you have questions or anything that you want to put in the chat, you may do that, and then I'll answer it as soon as I can once we get through the PowerPoint, I guess. All right, so first I want to break down what an academic advisor is. As I noted, when I started college, at the University of South Carolina, huge college, great place to be, go Gamecocks, love them. And I kind of showed up, and when we went into orientation, they told us like, oh, go ahead and sign up for your courses. As you get into your major, you'll meet your advisor. They'll help you throughout the rest of the years. And I did meet my advisor. He was a wonderful gentleman, and I had no clue what to ask him. I was like, what are we doing? Why are we in your office? What are you just making my schedule? That was the second semester. And it turns out as the years kind of progressed that he ended up being my professor as I got into like magazine writing, and then he got me an internship. It was all kinds of stuff like you have to know people, and your advisor can really be that person. So High Point University says that your advisor essentially is, they help students in their growth and development by constructing meaningful educational plans which are compatible with their life goals. And I like that as a definition because your advisor really is there to make meaning out of that course of study. When you enroll in college, of course, you have a degree in mind. Nobody enrolls with no end date or no end point. Like you're going to get there, get a degree in something, and be able to do several things on that journey. And to get that degree, there are actual classes you have to take. There might be volunteer hours you have to complete. There may be internships that you have to, go through. And that course of study, that plan of study is essential for you. Sometimes you get it as a booklet yourself. A lot of colleges now have them like as PDFs online, and they are your contract as a student. So your advisor is actually there to kind of be that professional who's familiar with the plan of study for your major and your college matriculation, so that you can gain clarity about what that looks like. What do 122 credit hours look like for me? What does it mean when it says I have to have an internship, or I have a choice between a 300 level class and a 400 level class in humanities? So your advisor is going to be there to make sure that you get accurate, consistent information that's going to clearly let you know, here's what class you could take, here's why you have to take it, here's a really good way for you to actually kind of meet all those requirements and still find yourself like able to enjoy those classes, to complete those classes, and then to actually get the degree that you need. So they are the professionals on campus who are going to help you kind of move through it so you're not lost and you don't end up taking classes that you don't necessarily need, and or classes that are things that you're not necessarily interested in when you could have had an option for something else. So expect your advisors to be those professionals that you turn to get that. Also expect your advisor to be a collaborator, somebody who is going to help you get the most out of your college experience. They are not there necessarily to tell you, go do this, don't do that, but they will be able to point you into the right direction and say, hey, you are a person who is interested in theater. Do you know that we have this program on campus? Or as somebody who is trying to make sure they are like maybe pre-law, did you know that there are certain like classes that can help you study for the LSAT? So your advisor can connect you to resources, inform you of opportunities that are going to best benefit you. Get to know them in a way so that you can tell them what you need and they can start having that conversation with you. It may be in the summertime, and if you're a freshman, you haven't quite met your advisor yet, but when you get on campus or when we get back into the kind of every day of the semester, make that contact. Say, here's what I want to do, and can you help me get there? And the more you talk with them, and particularly when you're making your schedule, or even when you're kind of just checking in throughout the semester, if you keep that top of mind, they will definitely be able to help you do that. So to really direct into what the session is about, how do you build a relationship with your advisor? It's pretty much how you build a relationship with anyone who is meant to be a collaborator with you and a professional with you. I would say at the start, introduce yourself. And that's more than just saying, hey, I'm Tony, you're my advisor. That's helpful. But you also want to make sure that you take a little bit of time to kind of give some information about who you are, what your goals are, what makes you tick as a student, so your advisor can kind of take a few bits of notes. They're not like a therapist, they're not your guidance counselor, but you are just a name until you kind of do something to kind of tell them, I want to be more than just that. So think of it as, hey, yes, I'm Tony, my major is this, I'm hoping to be this, this, and this. What I've noticed in high school is this, I'm really not a morning person, but I'm trying, or I'm kind of shy and I'm trying to use college as a way to, get more out there and understand politics. So if you introduce yourself, the things that makes you tick as a student and as a person, that advisor is going to try to take notes on that and be able to kind of use it as a way to give you what you need and also get to know you. So you're not just Tony and she has 5 Tonys, but you're Tony, the person who has this goal, who has come from this town and has these sorts of ideas in the background. I would also suggest that along with kind of introducing yourself, what makes you tick, you explain your goals. I'm in college because I want to graduate in 4 years, 2.5. I mean, that's not realistic always, but tell them if you're trying to graduate early. Or I'm here and, I'm just kind of here right now. I'm really confused. Hopefully by the end of the year, I'll have my major figured out. You don't have to know everything and have everything figured out once you're in college or even as a human on this planet, because things are complicated and they change every day. But you do want to make sure that you tell them, your advisor, kind of what your goals are, or the fact that you're a little bit lost, because they can help you kind of pinpoint it. You won't be the first student who they've met who hasn't picked a major, or a student who is thinking they might be pre-med, but really isn't quite sure where this is going to go. Say, well, they want to take a couple of semesters to kind of figure that out. Welcome. We're happy to help you be that person and do what you need to do to kind of get that access to things. And we can recommend other resources as that. Also at the start, when you first meet your advisor, feel free to ask questions about what you want to know or about things that you want them to tell you. I say that because sometimes you have something in your mind. You like, I really want to ask my advisor or somebody on this campus about how you get a work study done. If you never ask, they can never tell you, here's how, or maybe not right now. That's not for a first year student. That's not true, but I'm just saying for work study. So you need to ask the questions about the things that are already in your mind. Your advisor is pretty much your liaison to campus. If you have a question about something that goes on at school, how things work, I would say your first line of defense should be the advisor versus asking like a roommate or someone else. Your advisor should know. And if they don't know, they are supposedly trained, I would hope, to say, you know, I don't know. Let's go ask such and such. Or have you thought about asking blah, blah, blah? Maybe they could also tell you, or they can make a note to find that information out for you as well. At the start, please be honest throughout and keep that going. Like, what are you going through? What are you planning to do? I say that not to tell you to put all your business to your advisor and make yourself feel super vulnerable. But if you are feeling like, you know what, I don't know if I'm going to be able to cut it out. This is too far away from my mom. I've never been away from my mom before. I'm feeling super homesick. If you tell your academic advisor that, they may be able to like put you into contact with somebody who is trained to help you have that conversation. They may be able to talk to you about some of the things that actually is happening. Some campuses have academic advisors who are solely just here to say, here's how you graduate with your classes. And then there are other folks who get trained in intrusive, they call it advising, where like we do at Livingstone, where our goal is not just to make sure that your classes are straight, but that you are straight as a person. So I would say, be honest, ask them, you know, are you here for just academics or can I come to you for personal things? Get that out of the way at the first so they know and you know how to come to them. But if you ask any adult on campus, most likely they are supposed to get you the help that you need. So be honest if you're going through things. And I say, be honest about what you're planning to do. A lot of times, students, I love y'all, but y'all have an ulterior motive. Like, I need a transcript because I'm trying to get out of here in a year. Perfect. If you tell me that you're trying to get out of here in a year, I can help you get out of here in a year versus you being like surprised and then things actually don't go the way you need them to go. So be honest. And lastly, for the things to do at the start, make sure that you listen. The advisor is going to give you advice on classes, on kind of things to kind of get into. I would say listen to the advice really well and take it if you know that it's going to work for you. If you hear something that makes you think, I don't know, then ask more questions. Go back and explain your goals and tell your advisor, I'm not sure necessarily I can do this or I can follow up with this. Can you tell me more about it? Nothing is kind of worse for a relationship when there's not enough trust. Like if I've spent 30 minutes telling you, you really need to take Psych 231. And I give you all the reasons why. And I sign you up for 231. And then I check later and you didn't take 231. And then you're like, well, I didn't know that you wanted me to take it. It was like, that's the one thing I told you to do. That was the big point. So take notes, make sure you listen while you are actually in those meetings. As you continue beyond kind of that first initial set of meetings, make sure you set appointments and you keep them. I would say one thing that happens with a lot of students is you sometimes will only see your advisor when it's time to make your schedule. And between that time of like the 16 weeks it took you to get into a class and to get out of a class, then you might have gone through some things. So I would say you don't want to just walk in because you have questions. Send an email, make a phone call, say, hey, can I come by really quickly? I have a question about what's next after this class, or if the class that I'm supposed to take next semester is going to be just like this person, please tell me now because maybe I want to change my major. Like you need to kind of keep in contact and make that appointment so that you're able to kind of do it on a more regular basis than just every 16 weeks. You may not need to see your advisor more than that, but sometimes it's good to check in and make sure that you're getting what you need out of it. Again, as you continue your relationship with your advisor, be self-aware, talk about any habits that you're noticing about how you work or how you want to work. Like if 9 o'clock classes are killing you and your advisor has to make your schedule, you need to communicate like, look, those 9 o'clock classes not working. They may tell you you don't have another choice, but that's just so something that she can talk to you, or he can talk to you about, maybe give you some strategies. I would say bring in an idea or two. Every relationship is better when it's a two-way street. So you don't want it to just be one person taking, that person being you. You have something that you want to bring to the table. Say, hey, advisor, I was doing a little bit of research. What about? And then they could say yes or no. Or you can say, I was reading through the catalog and I noticed. Then you can kind of talk about what your plan of study looks like. And they'll have things they can build off of, because they never know what you're interested in or what you're capable of if you don't bring that up. And lastly, I would say continue to ask questions about how you're doing. Say, hey, if you are me and you're trying to get this degree, or you're trying to go into this field, do you think I'm on the right track? What would you recommend I do so that I'm a stronger student, so I have a stronger resume? And that advisor could be able to tell you some things, and also give you a way to kind of look at the world, or not even the world, but pretty much what you're doing in college. So one of the things I will say that is always thinking, and that I'm always thinking about as an advisor, is that that previous quote I had up before on the screen, where it came from the poet Yeats, that we realize that you have given us, when you walk into our office, like, hey, I have dreams. I want things, I have goals, and we are supposed to be respectful of that, honor that, and get you to that. But at the same point, your advisor is really just there to be a guide and not let you go off the rails. So keep in mind that you are responsible for your own things. And to that point, it's a word of caution. Your advisors are human, right? We are going to be late ourselves sometimes. Sorry, I know Justin knows that I can do that. And also know that even if we're trying to think about what you've told us, like, hey, I'm pre-law, I intend to be out of here in 3.5 years, so I could take the LSAT, blah, blah, blah. Like, check behind us to make sure that we are keeping you on the track you need to be on. If we suggest something, or we want you to do something, follow up if it seems a little bit off. Like, if you've told me 2 semesters ago that you definitely didn't want to take an upper level French class, and then I say, take French, then come back and say, well, you remember you told me take French? I wasn't actually wanting to do that. And then we can have a conversation about, like, well, why did I suggest that? Is that something that's required now? Or did I just kind of forget that you said no French? Please operate with a sense of grace and understand that your advisor does have multiple students, but you also matter. So don't let them push you to the side. But if you want to get in on a Tuesday and they're like, I don't have a Tuesday free, like, don't let that ruin your relationship. Like, oh, she doesn't have time for me. Schedule for Wednesday. Like, it's okay. We'll be all right. You want to make sure that you're being flexible so that they can be flexible, but don't let them push you off as if you don't matter, because you matter. Like, their whole job is to make sure you get what you need. So that's not permission to be pushy, but that is permission to be persistent, because your needs matter. You're trying to graduate. Now your advisor is there to help you graduate. So if you have questions and it is directly affecting whether or not you can make it to that next level, like, don't let them push you to the side. Lastly, if you're feeling uncomfortable or unheard, feel free to seek an additional meeting with that same advisor. But, like, maybe we're running out of time. Maybe Tuesday afternoon is not the best time to talk to you. Can I come back later in the week? And then if you're still not satisfied, or you're still feeling something in your gut, get a second opinion from someone else in the department. The advisor is not the only advisor on campus. They can't be the only person who knows the thing that you're asking them. So feel free to kind of ask others in a respectful way about it. Because I will tell you that I had a great experience with my undergraduate advisor. Like I said, when I first met him, he was just a guy. Nice to meet you, sir. Let's figure out this, plan of study. Tell me I need to take journalism 333. Got it. But by the time it was over, he knew that I was a writer and I was serious about certain things, and I needed an internship, and I was really talented. He had seen my GPA. He knew about me. That sounds like I'm famous, but I wasn't. But he knew some things. And so he was able to say, listen, you haven't had an internship yet. What about this? And he even wrote the letter. So you want to get to that point where your advisor is thinking about you and saying, what about this? I heard about this. Why not you? Let me write you a letter to do that. So I'm going to stop talking because I've said a lot. If y'all have questions, of course, you can unmute yourselves, ask them out. If you want to put it in the chat, I'm able to do it. Charles, if you want to come back, you may. I have a couple of other stories I could tell you about advising, but I'm gonna wait and see if y'all have something for me first. Questions, concerns?
Can you tell us a story?
You want to start? Thank you so much. Yeah, I have a story. So my niece, hopefully she's not watching this, if she does, she, I would tell you, did not make the connection with her advisor, and it did not end well. She actually, the way her college worked, like she had one advisor, then you transferred up and you had another advisor. And for some reason, she just thought the first advisor was kind of, I don't know if the word was flaky or didn't care. And that the person was really trying to reach out to her and kind of figure out like, hey, what works for you? What does it? And so my niece just decided to tell her any old thing. And it actually ended up to where my niece had to repeat a class that she didn't need. Well, not repeat a class, but take a class because she didn't need it. And I was like, why didn't you talk to your advisor about that? And her response was, oh, that lady, she don't matter. I'm like, no, she does. Like her whole job is to help you. So if you're just kind of giving her, I don't know what to say it. Like if you just kind of like moving through them so that you can get to the next level, that is never going to be good for you. So tell the truth so you don't have to repeat classes. That's one story. Not very juicy, but that's just one. I have a juicy one too.
Ms. Bostick, I do have a question.
Yes.
So I during your presentation, you talked about meeting with your advisor, not just when it's time for scheduling. And I know for me, I come into your office I came into your office every day. Just because I knew I had a place to be and me and you needed to meet every day about that, even though you confirmed with me every time I needed these classes. So how many times should a freshman or a transfer student that's going into a new environment meet with their advisor throughout the semester?
I would say you definitely want to do it. I mean, it doesn't have to be every day. It doesn't even have to be every week. I know at Livingstone, we do learning communities, so we meet weekly just to kind of stay on track. But for most folks, I would say at least 3. So you want to do it at the beginning of the semester to make sure you have the classes that you need. You could do like a check-in, like here's where I am, here's what I'm taking. Is that good? Yes, I'm set. Then I would say check back in around midterm for sure, after you know your scores or after you are right about to take the exam, and you can ask some difficult questions like, listen, I don't know going into midterm or coming out of midterm if I need to stay in this class, or what are my options so that I don't fail out of this required class altogether. Your advisor will be somebody who can give you kind of those pointers of like, look, you can drop right now and pick it back up on another semester, or they'll be like, realistically, don't do that. You need to stick it out. You need to go to tutoring or get some other kind of resources so that you'll know, because the worst thing would be to like drop a class and then need it and not realize that you can't do what you need to do next semester because you just didn't want to kind of put a little bit of extra effort into that one. So around midterm, and then I would say usually at the end of the semester, you are going to have to meet with your advisor again to get squared away for the upcoming semester. So please those 3 times. If you like them enough and they're good enough and they have the time and the space, you know, you can visit in between those, but definitely do the 3.
I have another question.
Yes.
Between Charles and myself, who is your favorite advisee?
You said between you and Charles? Is that what you said?
Absolutely.
Oh
Between
my
myself
God,
and Charles, who's your favorite advisee? No, if you say Charles because it's his conference, we understand.
Actually, you know what, Ms. Bostick? You know what, Ms. Bostick? Since we being real, since this is the Vibes, you can answer that question honestly.
I don't think I have an answer. One, advisors do not have respect of people. Like we love everybody equally. I think out of the 2 of you, I've known Justin longer, but Charles, you're just equally wonderful. So
I won.
Justin didn't think I was gonna pick him necessarily. Both of y'all, anytime. wonderful people, and the ability for your advisor to, one, know your name, and two, like, say your name in the street means that you've done what you needed to do. So both of these guys have really taken like the words of advice that are on this PowerPoint that they didn't even know they were doing it, but they have asked questions, they have been involved, they have told me how they work, they have made sure that I could advocate for them the best that I could, and that's always a really good thing as you're doing it. I will say advisors have pet peeves, and they're not terrible, like, hey, you set an appointment, keep it, or don't be so upset if I'm 5 or 10 minutes late, though I'll try to be on time. But most of like the pet peeve comes from like you're making like we talk for 30, 40 minutes, and then you go on a whim and you just change everything. Like I've had students who will meet with me for an hour, we'll get things together, we have talked out a plan for the semester, and then they come back and say, oh, I dropped all those classes. What? Why would you do that? I don't understand what the plan was or the reason for you doing that. You've just confused me. So don't be that person who kind of takes all that work and then just crumbles it up and throws it into the trash can and says, my advisor doesn't know what she's talking about.
Even though I did want to do that a few times last semester with some, well, not last semester, fall semester for real. If we was to be real, fall semester, I just wanted to throw everything away.
Yeah, I remember.
But Ms. Bostick, I do have another question, not for students per se, but for advisors or advisors going into this new role. Like you said, of course, we're in your office all the time, you know, either of course doing homework, because let me tell you one thing about Miss Bostick's room, you coming in there to do homework. That's for sure. You just ain't gonna come in there and kick back. But what about those advisors that are new to this experience, but they already have that built relationship with those students, and then it's hectic in their office? What would you say to them to balance out that student relationship and then making sure you still advise, but having a balance?
Well, I think the one thing to do with any relationship, but definitely in that case, is to just be honest. Like, hey, student, I'm gonna need 10 minutes with this, or I have to do a big report tomorrow, so I'm gonna need 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour to kind of focus on myself. I think a lot of times people, students, humans, will give you what you need if they know what you need. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, and it's not because like, hey, this student is doing a lot, but it's because that student is just they're under the impression that you're free or that it's not a bother, then just saying like, hey, this has come up, or for the next 25 minutes, I need this. Appointments are really great. I know for a while, I started off with a very small group of advisees, and then somebody left campus, and then I got another like learning community. And it was a lot. I was like, oh my goodness, how do I do all this and my regular job, which is like writing centered things. And so I really had to put people on a calendar. They thought I was being super bougie, but I wasn't. I'm like, listen, if you really want time with me, you're gonna have to like sign in, check in, so I can make the best use of my day and also be there for you. So I think it worked out for the most part. I'm always 10 minutes behind. God is working on me. But yeah.
And the reason why I ask that is because I always think back to fall semester, what I did. Like, let me just tell y'all, it's just a situation happened that didn't look good on nobody's part. And I just stormed into her office because she was my academic advisor. So me knowing that she was my academic advisor, I went straight to her. I'm just going to keep it real with y'all. I went straight to her, and she looked at me and said, this ain't my fault, but I understand why you mad. Now, I'm not going to say the words that I said in her office, because everybody that was in that building told me I was being loud because there was some words I shouldn't have been saying. But they were understood. They were really understood because I was upset. So your advisors do advocate for you, even when you're upset. I'm just going to keep it real with y'all, but y'all got to have the relationship.
Yes. So
that is why I am her favorite.
Yeah. You probably want to get your emotions in check before you come into your advisor's office as much as you can. Again, we're operating with grace. They're human. Sometimes stuff happens that has zero to do with them. And then sometimes stuff happens that is a direct result of what they've done. So the better that you can present it and the clearer you can present it, the better it will go for everybody. And you always want to go into a session with a game plan for what you want to get out of it. Like if you're there to get a schedule, don't leave without a schedule. If you're there because, hey, my transcript is looking kind of funky and I don't know what's going on with it, then, say that is what the goal is, so that by the time it's over, you'll know that you've gotten pretty much what you need out of that situation, because nothing's worse than you going in there, maybe you scream, maybe you cry, but by the time you leave, like, you still have the exact same problem that you walked in with, except now you have had an emotional release. Yeah, but we need actual like academic matriculation things that are happening. So Charles, you are wonderful. I remember that day, but we left.
We did leave positive. We did leave positive, but I was cussing. I'm just gonna keep it real on here. On Facebook Live, I cussed. I used every cuss word. Christian values was moved to the side for 20 minutes that day. I just needed my voice to be heard.
Now, real quick, because I want Miss Bostick, I want to kind of load a question. Well, I don't want to load a question, but I want to say this, like, on a serious note. As my advisor, one thing that I have definitely noticed is your ability to adapt to every major. So if you're advising a political science major, the jargon, if I can use that, or the mood and the setting of a political science major. I'm a religious studies major, so Tyrese, you know how that is. The language that we use in the world that religious studies majors live in. And so, that whole relationship piece is very, very critical. But you also serve as a teacher at Livingstone. Has there ever been, have you ever had to teach and advise some of those same students? And if so, how do you manage advising those same students that you teach? I know we've talked about it off camera, but if you don't mind answering just one more time.
I don't even know what you mean. No, I do. Actually, I'm an English instructor and I'm an advisor. So I do have had students who I taught every day something, and then I've also been their advisor. And I do try to keep it slightly separate, but I'm also a person who realizes that, life is life. Things are going to mesh sometimes. And so as a teacher, my job is to instruct you and to make sure that you get what you need so that you can pass your course, get your credit hours, move on to the next level, and be great. As an advisor, my job is to make sure that I'm collaborating with you, getting you to that next level so you can move on and graduate. So a lot of that, hey, we got to graduate part is in common. So I do not mind telling my students, realistically, like, if you don't pass my class, you're probably not going to graduate. And I'm your advisor, and I know you need this class. So that's just real talk. And I don't think my students would say that I don't know how to do some real talk sometimes. But to the point where I don't also, as an instructor, I do know that advisors also can kind of step in and say, hey, you need tutoring. Hey, what's happening with you? It's probably something going on outside of my classroom, the reason why you're not performing like you need to. So at that point, I would not in the classroom say, hey, I know what's going on with your life. I would simply call as the advisor later and say, you know what? You need to come talk to me about all of your classes, especially mine, because I know that something's going on in my class and I see what you're doing. So I don't bring it into the classroom, my advising things, but I will, as an advisor, talk about what I see you doing in class, if that makes sense. And I'm always very willing to call a student as an advisor, text you, email you, find you somewhere in the street, and say, we need to talk about what's happening with you this semester and your goals. Hope that answered your question.
Ms. Bostick, I got one more tough question for you. As you know, some advisors are the counselor, professor, mentor, friend to cry on, shoulder to lean on. When you have those stressful students,
Oprah and Dr. Phil.
Yes, Dr. Phil. When you have, especially when you are an advisor and a professor You're trying to balance both of those. What are the things that you do to help those students that are just like, you know what, Miss Bostick, forget all this school. I don't need this. I can go get a job. What do you tell those students that's on the brink of giving up, but you see potential? And if they just hold on and hold out, they can actually succeed.
Usually that's the moment where I close the door and I speak the truth to the power in the room. I think a lot of times is trying to be the professional one. If it's something going on deeper that I'm not trained for, like I am not a therapist, I'm not a pastor. If you got real drama, I can listen. I can give you advice as a human to human, but I'm going to tell you, maybe you should go talk to somebody. Here's their number, here's their office hours, etc. So please know in those moments, like I will walk you there. If you need me to like leave now with you, I can do that. If you want me to make a phone call on your behalf before you get there, happy to do that. But you know, my expertise only goes so far. For the student who's thinking to themselves, like, this is hard, I don't enjoy this anymore, I don't know why I'm waking up every day at 6 o'clock just so I could be at class at 8 and then make D's on everything. But I see that potential. I'm very well equipped with life stories of my own, poems, all kinds of random sayings to just be honest and say, this is hard. College is not easy. If college is easy, everybody would have a degree, and everybody doesn't. Mm-hmm. And so there are moments when you have to dig deep because it is usually just 16 weeks. And if you've already made it through 8 of those weeks, what can we do to make the next 8 better? And if you're feeling stressed in one particular area, how can we kind of pinpoint that and then strategize around it? Because it's not like your capabilities are any different than when you started. More than likely, it's just the fact that you need resources or you probably need some help. And in both of those cases, as an advisor, I can kind of point you in that direction. And sometimes you just need somebody who believes in you a little bit more than you believe in yourself. And I'm not going to lie to a student. I have told students, hey, you got this. Come back at 2 o'clock. And if you need somebody to just sit with you and go through it with you, I can do that at 2. I can equally say to a student who I feel like is playing themselves, like, why are you wasting your mama money? If you're not serious, it's time for you to have a real conversation with yourself so that you can actually make better decisions. Because if you're not going to get up and go to class, then you are wasting time. If you're not depressed and that's why you're not getting up and going to class, then we need to figure that out. Like, what's happening with you over the period of time where you feel like quitting is an option. And a lot of times it's not an option. Like, don't quit on yourself just because it got hard. Like, push through that and then keep seeing it.
So hold on. Now I'm gonna add a question to this because I'm gonna see if you're gonna get edgy. What about those students that really don't really care about none of their education at all, but they come at you with the last minute talking about they need to pass this class?
Well, everybody's different. I don't think that is the way to be successful. We cannot be last minute. But even if you have decided on week 13, I need to get it together, then the first thing I'm going to do is like, let's be strategic and let's be intentional. If you really are trying to do it in the next 3 weeks, what do the next 3 weeks need to look like? So I'm going to sit down with you. We're going to devise a plan. We're going to talk to the professors. What do I need to do? What does that look like? And then once you know what you have to do, then let's sit down and get it done. Does that require a tutor? Does that require you kind of like doing a 5-hour study session for this one test that you have to take? Like, how do you figure out those 5 hours? I'm very strategic and I don't want to give up on a student and I won't give up on a student. As your advisor, sometimes you do need somebody to push you and kind of give you a game plan. Advisors can do that. We can't do the work for you. Again, your dreams are your responsibility. Ideally, if I get you out of this rut and we make it through the next 3 weeks and you are able to pass, don't come at me next semester and say, I got 3 more weeks before I do this, because I'm going to look at you and say, you've learned nothing while we playing. But more honestly, I'm going to say, what was the strategy last time? Like, we need to learn as we go. 1, don't put yourself in that situation if you can help it. But 3, we learned last semester with 3 weeks left. You can come through if you contact your teachers and you get a study plan and you do all this. So let's do the same thing this semester. If that student had done that, it would be my responsibility the following semester, though. I would check in earlier to make sure they were on track and that they didn't have to wait till the last 3 weeks to get it together.
Thank you, Ms. Boston. That's all the questions I got.
Well, thank you. I have enjoyed this. And one thing I know, I don't want to keep y'all too long. Your advisor can be a wonderful asset to you on campus. They're not the only asset, but please, you don't want to end up at the end of your 4 years and realize, oh, I missed classes, or I don't have the credits I need, or I didn't realize this, or I never got an internship. Any of those things, like your advisor can really, really, really point you in the right direction with that. Their job is to help you do that. So get in contact with them, build this relationship, ask those questions, make those introductions, share those dreams, and then do the hard work of maintaining that relationship as much as possible by being a professional Black citizen. Charles, you're wonderful. You know that.
Thank you, Ms. Boston.
Thank you. I'm going to stop the share and give you back reign to your group.
Thank you, Ms. Bostick.
Have a good night.
You too.
Charles, I think you might take the reins back so I don't hang it up. Like when I leave, it says I'm the host. You see that? Maybe it will let me, if I hit the button itself and it'll say, give the host to somebody. Let me try that. Oh, I can assign it. It's me.
Okay.
Thank you. You have a good night.
Thank you.
I'll tune back in tomorrow.
Well.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you to Ms. Bostick, y'all. That is my advisor. Let me tell y'all. She didn't tell y'all this, but I'm going to say it. Me and her go at it. Me and her go at it, but it's a positive go at it. So please, freshmen, transfer students, undecided students, understand the relationship with your academic advisor has significance to your success being at school. This is closing out night one of the Vibes Conference. I want to thank my speakers. Tomorrow night, join me again, 6:45 p.m. We're going to do it again via Zoom. Please share this with your friends, your classmates, transfer students, freshmen, share it with your friends. Tell them this conference is for free. You do not, I'm telling you right now, you do not want to miss tomorrow night. I have some wonderful speakers lined up. I have a young lady that I had the pleasure of working with on the N4C SGA board, and that all that stands for is the North Carolina Comprehensive Community College Student Government Association. I had the pleasure of working with that young lady throughout a year of being on the state board. So she will be a speaker, Ms. Kirsten Stovall, and then closing it out for the Real Talk session, it will be Minister Justin Wade. So please join us for that because you don't want to miss it. Ms. Stovall will be talking about the involvement, getting involved on your campus and why it has significance and important. And the Real Talk session, honestly, y'all, I don't know what Minister Justin Wade got set up, but all I'm telling you is you don't want to miss tomorrow night. I'm going to sign off. It's your boy. Y'all know who it is. It's your boy, Charles. Y'all know when I'm on this mic. It's just a young man telling his story. Thank you so much for joining me via Facebook Live. Thank you for all my guests joining me via Zoom. I'll see you tomorrow night, 6:45. I'm out. Y'all be blessed.